review this game. So it starts with Caro-Kann defense. This is exchange variation. White chose to take our d5 pawn, and we have our c6 moving to d5. And white developed light square bishop to d3. This is controlling this diagonal, so it's hard for us to develop bishop to f5. I think bishop d3 is a very good move. And we develop the knight, c3, bishop to g4. Well, I don't think bishop g4 is the... I mean, if I would play black, I would move the knight first to c6. Bishop g4, I have a feeling that it helped white develop knight to e2. And also after f3, we need to move our bishop back. So it's a little bit inefficient move bishop to g4. And also white could potentially move queen to d3. We just help our development, help our opponent develop the queen. And since the light square bishop is out, the b7 pawn is a weakness, and also this diagonal. So I will move knight instead. Bishop b3, yeah, and queen b6. What about queen c7? Because queen b6, after the trade, will have a double pawn. This is weak. And bishop f4, we exchange. It's okay, let me think about it. So why don't we just move the knight? The thing is, if we trade the queen, this a file is open, and I think white is threatening taking the knight and taking the pawn. Maybe we need to move the pawn to a6, and white can push the pawn to b4, and b5 can attack our queen side. We will very soon have a weakness of this pawn. Or even though we take the pawn, we will have these two pawns like isolated. So I think we can move the knight instead. And we play knight b d7, e6, knight f3. So I think the opening white is slightly better. It has most of the, or all of the minor pieces developed, and white has a very good like semi-open file. And we need to think about how should we place our, for example, the dark square bishop. It doesn't have a very good square to move. And also the light square bishop, bishop e7, castle, castle, rook e1, a6. Yeah, it's good. And we don't have to make our rook stay at a8. 95, exchange, 98. Why don't we move knight to e7, d7? I will move knight to d7 instead, because we can trade with the bishop. The bishop is really strong. And also, it doesn't block our rook. And if we want to push f6, we can still push f6. So I like knight d7, h3, c4. Can we just move bishop to b4? Is the knight pinned? Yeah. If bishop to f4, we take the pawn takes, and can we just move the rook to d8? We can attack d4. And if protect the pawn, we can take the knight, and then we can win a pawn. So I think bishop b4 is something we can think about it, because the rook cannot protect the knight, and we can pin the knight. We take the pawn. I mean, I don't think we have to take the pawn, right? Because we take the pawn, the double pawn is not here anymore, and we lost the center pawn. The thing why I take the pawn now, because I think we can win the d4 pawn, so that's why I take the pawn. But in this case, we take that. Okay, maybe we can pin the knight later. Yeah, maybe we can do this later. Yeah. Okay, but if we cannot win the pawn, I don't think trading the center pawn with the c4 is a good idea. Okay, white take that with the knight. I think white is probably notice the bishop b4 move, so he take that with the knight, and so the double pawn is still there, which is a good thing. Oh, knight c8. So yeah, I think that we we can feel that the problem is 98. If we have knight at d7, right? The white knight cannot move in to b6. So that's the reason, yeah, the placement of piece is very important. And in this case, I don't think like attacking the knight is a good option because we just help knight move further. And also after b6, b5, the a6 won't become hanging. So I think move the knight rook to d8 is a good move. And I am also thinking rook to d8 is the reason we open up the d file, right? Because of the trade, we can have this target at d4, so we should move our rook to d8. Otherwise, I don't see any reason we take the c4 pawn. Okay, yeah, bishop b5 it's also something. But wait, I think knight c8. I think white can win material. Take the a6. Yeah. After taking the a6, I think b5 is also a problem. I think white can take b5. Rook b7. Attack the rook. Rook goes to here. And rook b6. Yeah. White can win 2 pawns. So I think that's the problem with b5. We attack the knight for no reason. Yeah, white take this pawn. What about rook b7? Can we pin the knight? Rook b7. If rook take our pawn, we can keep adding, right? Can we win the knight? Take. Even though we cannot win the knight, we can probably take the b3. We can at least win 1 pawn back. And we play bishop to d6. Okay, the rook is trapped. Oh, white. Okay. Okay, we lost pieces. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think the problem with this game is a slight problem is knight e8, and if we move knight to d6, we won't have such problem. And another thing is b5. So we need to think about what is the reason we push the pawn to b5. And if we move rook to d8, it's consistent with like taking the c4 pawn because the d4 pawn is isolated pawn. After rook to d8, we can push the pawn to f6 to kick the bishop and take the pawn, or move the bishop to f6 off the tray. We have a lot of way to attack d4, knight c7, knight b5, right? This is very consistent with taking the pawn. And we push the b5. First of all, I don't think kicking the knight makes much sense, to be honest, because the knight can't go to like b6. This is one move, or e3 is not bad. So I don't think we should kick the knight. And another problem is after b5, our a6 pawn become a weakness. We cannot move the rook anymore. So yeah, it looks aggressive, but it does not make much sense. So that's a problem with b5. That's it.